everyone. Welcome to the Mind Made Wrong podcast. I'm so glad you are here with me. This is episode 39 and 40. I have here with me Jon Omen. Say hello to everyone on YouTube who are watching
Hey everyone, how's
this.
it going?
Hello, hello, hello. We'll be talking with him about his journey, his mental health journey, and his music and his vision for the future. So let's just jump right into it. Hi, Jon. First, I never asked you this. Is Omen like your actual real name?
No, it's a
No, it's not.
pseudonym. John is my real name. Omen is one that I just kind of came up with. I have a history of playing like rock and roll, and so
Hmm.
I kind of like the little the darker stuff. Although I try
I
and get
love
at
it.
the good omens, not bad ones now. So
It's good. I mean, it's good premonitions, bad premonition. I like it. It's ominous. It's I would that would have been dope if it had been your real name, but that's really really cool. So let's just get right into it. Tell us where we can find you on social media first. What are you working on, and what do you want us to be aware of?
so jonomen.com with JONOMEN.com is the easiest way to find me. Or you can usually just search that, just Jon Omen on any of the profiles, and I'm the first one that pops up. I'm the guy with the lightsabers. Uh,
Yes, you are. I was looking through and I was like, oh my God, you really like lightsabers. It's great. It's great. It's a good theme.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm on all the music platforms too. So,
Okay, cool. Let's get into your origin story. So I want you to tell us all about how you started as a musician and what were your turning points in your career that brought you to where you are today.
I have been playing music ever since I was a little kid. My mom, she grew up in Orange County, which is a really great music scene there. She actually knew Dexter Holland from The Offspring, if you know who that is. She went to school with him. So she was always pushing me to do music as I was growing up. Um, as I got older, I kind of realized that I had depression, which is unfortunately all too common, and I always used music as kind of like a coping mechanism for that because it's really kind of helped me. Decided to join the military out of high school as an infantryman, and that was a good choice for me. I met a lot of amazing people, but unfortunately, also, um, I struggled with a couple of things. And when I was 22, I had a suicide attempt, and that was kind of the point of my life when I really realized that I needed to commit to something, and it had to be something that I really loved and was really passionate about. And music has always been that for me. And so I just said, you know what, I just need to try and go all in. And I did, and it's probably been the best decision that I've ever made in my life. It's not easy. Any type of the arts is not easy, but it's also um, necessary. I don't think anybody's gone an entire day of their life really unless they're camping without music. But it's used everywhere, and it's something that it really did save my life, and I feel like I can do a lot of good and hopefully help a lot of other people the same way. So that's why I do it, what I do, and I'm very glad for it.
Thank you. You had an amazing story. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this, on that moment in your life? You were talking to me earlier about it was really you weren't in the best place mentally, to be in the military. You
Yeah,
said you went, yeah.
I I had this like unsettling feeling that I was just going absolutely nowhere with my life. Actually, my most recent song North Star talks about this. I realized that I needed to like create some type of direction, but before when I had the suicide attempt, I painted a shotgun shell, and I wrote like nothing changes on it. And when I put it into the shotgun and I pulled the trigger, I when I cleaned the shotgun the last time, I think I put a little bit of cotton on accident where the firing mechanism hits, and so it jammed up. The only time in my life that I haven't anything ever had, sorry, anything like that ever happened to me. and uh, I'm lucky. And then after that, my hands are just shaking, and you know, I unloaded it and dropped it, and it was just kind of one of those moments where I realized that I had to somehow make a change, and I had to figure out like what I was going to hold on to and what that guiding light was going to be for me. But,
That's funny that you wrote nothing changes on, on the bullet, and then you're like, well, I have to make a change, because that, I think that's such a miracle. Like the story is just, I can't speak, like you say it, and you're telling us this story, and I'm speechless, because it really shows that you have a purpose and you have a meaning.
well,
um
I'm very big on second chances.
yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly that every single day when you wake up, you get to make a choice, and sometimes it's not easy. Some days it's impossible to get out of bed, but doing your best to try and get around those and trying making the most out of every single day you can is very important. And just because you had a bad day yesterday doesn't mean that you can't try and have a good day today. And some days when it's a really awful day, sometimes you just have to have a day, and
Hmm.
do your best to get through it.
I
uh
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Sometimes you just have to have a day, get through the day. I'm still thinking about that story. It just sticks in my mind. Would you say that that is a moment in your life where you felt like your mind was made wrong, keeping in the theme of this podcast? And how did you go about making that change when you
uh
realized you needed to?
Well, obviously, the moment when I realized that of what I had just done, that was eye opening. I opened up to it about a couple of family members. I
Hmm.
told them that I was like, I need to get some help because clearly I'm not in the right place. I immediately started going to therapy. I started being very self accountable, trying and self aware, which is extremely important, is like understanding the state of mind that you're in right now and understanding what is a normal thought and what is a distorted thought. And by that, what I mean is like, it's not normal to think, hey, I should kill myself. That's, you should never think that ever in your life. And training yourself to think like which thoughts are me speaking and which parts are the depression speaking is incredibly important for me, because now it doesn't make the thoughts go away. It just helps me compartmentalize them a little bit and say, you know what, like these are things that I understand what's going on right now, but they aren't me. I am gonna work around them. And it's a lot of times those moods are what help me make songs. And I try and write music now that's not depressing, but it's about overcoming that. And I try and write things more on the inspiring note than just focusing on the bad things. I believe in like personal manifestation. I believe when you wake up trying to tell yourself a few good things that, like, you're going to do this today, you're going to be successful, you're going to end up being happy, and trying, focusing on saying those things to yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean that bad things aren't going to happen to you, but um the more you believe things and the more you start repeating them to yourself, they start manifesting in your life. Because especially if one of the things that I mentioned is like I try and do at least one good thing for somebody every single day. That,
Oh.
that really helps, because it comes back to you. I mean, don't do it for the sake of things coming back to you, but I believe that if you're putting good things out into the world is going to recognize that, and you know they're going to help you when those times that your head starts sinking underneath the water a little bit.
Hmm. I I really like that. Can we talk a little bit more about the personal manifestation? Because, so a lot of times I will do that, and I'm wondering if I'm doing it wrong. And I'm sure people listening are thinking like, okay, like I've been told to do that as well. Have gratitude. Be grateful, be happy, and I'm still not um, accomplishing those things. Can we go about it a little bit more detail about how you do that?
uh what For me, how I usually started off is with vision. um
Hmm.
I look at myself and 5, 10 years down the road, and I say to myself, hey, look, where do I want to be? What are the things that I'm going to need to accomplish in order to be able to get there? And without where does that look like for me? That looks like me being able to completely maintain myself off of music and sustain myself off of music. It means having a genuine impact with my followers and fans. It means being able to create music that I think is meaningful. Creating and maintaining really good relationship with my friends. I have a couple of friends that I'm still friends with since I was 8 years old. um, and it's awesome to be able to continue to always like you have them as a support system. um but as far as like the personal manifestation thing goes, it's no joke. There's actually a prisoner of war that got stuck in a camp, and he literally just passed the time by just thinking of golf, as crazy as that sounds. But when he ended up getting out of the prisoner of war camp, he ended up improving his game by like 5, 10 strokes from what he normally would. And that was after he hadn't really even just played. It was just him constantly going through mentally. It's just like, this is what I want. This is me, what I want to think about. This is what I'm going to manifest. But you can really, you can shape your environment a lot that way because you start recognizing it. A good example is with cars. Um, you will never see a yellow car until you start actively looking for yellow cars, and then you'll start seeing them all the time.
Mm.
um, and that's like one of the best examples I can give you. Is just you become aware of the things that you need um, to start drawing into your life. And so when you start looking for happy things, you start focusing on those more and letting the bad things roll off your shoulders a little bit.
Okay. All right. I understand now. I actually did a podcast like 2 weeks ago about it's another way of saying what you focus on expands.
Mhm.
And I love that's my little snippet. I love it. It's so good. Physical manifestation, basically what really the guy his golf game was
Yeah,
better. That's crazy.
I wish I could remember the guy's name. I have a couple concussions and my memory isn't what it used to be, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's a true story, and it happens more than you think. Like it when you when you have a vision that's I don't want to say almost uncompromisable. um you start focusing on that more, you can draw things to you that you don't even realize you're drawing to you, just because it's it's a part of your plan.
I suppose it can work in bad ways and good ways.
It can. If you're
Yeah.
always thinking negative things and you're always thinking to yourself, bad things always happen to me, uh,
Yeah.
you're going to focus more on those little bad things that happen to you. I mean, like, it's a difference of like, if your vision is to uh like, I don't want to say go to work. You should be passionate about your work. Try and find a job that you're passionate about. But as you get out of the car and you step in a puddle, you just sometimes won't even notice it because you're so anxious to like get on with what you want to do. But if you're always worried about like the bad things that are happening to you, you step in that puddle and you'll be like, oh, why me? I just stepped in this puddle. My shoe's wet now. Whereas, if you try and just not focus on those things, they just kind of roll off of you.
Absolutely. I'm gonna steal that. That's in my little arsenal. That's a nugget. Um, I want to talk about your how music has brought meaning to your life. I want to first let's talk about how would you define your music? How would you what do you write about? What are your
So,
lyrical themes?
um, the most important thing to me, and this will always be the most important thing to me, is when I'm writing a song, I try and write the best song I can, and I try and make every song the best version of itself. Um, I'm very choosy which songs I release. I'll usually write about 20 songs for every one song that I release.
Hmm.
Some of those I'll end up giving to other musicians too, because I've worked as a songwriter before I started actually um, releasing songs myself. My process is very different for each song. Some songs I've written while I've been walking in downtown San Francisco, and all of a sudden the lyrics just popped into my head, and I just started pulling out my voice recorder and started going from there. Other songs have started from a guitar riff, and then other songs I don't even know how they just came out of me, where I've written the entire song and produced the entire song in a day, and then some songs have taken me a year. Um, so I'd love to say that I have like a consistent sound or a consistent methodology behind everything, but really, I try and be in the moment when I'm writing, and I just try and like I said, bring out the best of what I can. I always if I ever end up collaborating with somebody, it's what I always tell them. I always say that the song comes first, and you can leave your ego at the door, um, because really what we're here for is to try and give people something that they can really connect to and can be really meaningful to them. And that's what I really try and focus on. I guess you could call my genre, like, I play pop, but pop is the worst way to describe a genre in my opinion. But you have like Ed Sheeran on one side and you have Post Malone on the other, and they're both considered pop artists, but they don't sound anything alike.
Yeah,
Um,
it's popular music.
just
Yeah. So what are your, let's talk about your influences.
ooh, um, that depends on the day to day. Back when I was younger, I listened to a lot of like Foo Fighters and Muse and Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, uh, Breaking Benjamin, Chevelle, even
Mm,
there's so many, even like Linkin Park. And then now I've really kind of grabbed like a really big palette. So I'll listen from anything to like Hosier to Post Malone.
mhm, mhm.
Even guys like Joyner Lucas are like I love
It's
I
really
really love,
good.
yeah, I love all types of music, because it's
Yeah.
been as I've transitioned from when I was younger to being more of a songwriter. It's really kind of opened up my palette. So really what I care about now is just a great song. And even like it's like country for a long time I wasn't the biggest fan of, and then I started listening to um a lot of the lyrics, and I was like, wow, some of these are actually absolutely incredible songs. I don't know why I didn't listen to this at first. I put things in a box, and there's no reason why I should have put them in a box. So that's what I really try and focus on now, is having really good songs. At the
Is the
moment,
song first.
yeah, at the
Yeah.
moment, I've been listening to uh, a lot of One Republic, Hosier. Actually, I just said
Mhm,
them,
mhm.
and Fits in the Tantrums. I think those are the three that I've been listening
Oh,
to.
I haven't heard that at all. Have they come out with new music lately?
Yeah, well, Fits in the Tantrums haven't released anything too lately, but I will always be impressed because the lead singer of that band is like 50 years old. And
No, he
yeah,
is?
he is. He's definitely older. I can't remember exactly how old he is. I'm gonna look this up right now if you don't mind.
That is banana. No, totally. That is bananas. That is so cool. I love Fits. I hope they come out with something new.
Yeah,
Hosier is also really good as well.
he was in the he was in the music industry for a long time, and he just kept going at it and going at it and going at it.
And I was surprised to hear that Jennifer Lopez is 50 as well. Like that's crazy to me. Like because of the Super Bowl, everyone was like freaking out because she looks the way she does at 50. But like I'm sitting here trying to do the math, because I was listening to her when I was like 11, and I'm sitting here like, oh, okay, like she didn't pop um super early. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? She didn't reach her prime at all super early. I think that's so inspiring to know that people are kind of getting over this youth cult. Like you have to be a certain age and you have to be a certain genre, and even look a certain way to do music and to be successful.
yeah, he's 49. So
That's ancient in,
yeah.
in the industry,
Well,
you
it,
know.
it's like they look for 18-year-olds. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
comes down to
Yeah.
age is just a number. If you
Yeah.
really do what you love and you work hard enough and you do it for long enough, eventually enough people are going to hear it that and if as long as your message is something inspiring, it's going to go someplace. Unfortunately, it's just with any type of art, it's an uphill battle, and everybody's mountain is different. Some people have a little hill they have to roll the ball up, and then it goes down the other side and will take off on its own. And some people have to climb a mountain. But when you get to the top and you get to that point, it's eventually going to work for you. It's just sometimes it's a lot harder for certain people than other people. You just it's kind of what my this album that I'm releasing is about. It's called Hearts Bleed Fire. It's about being so passionate that it just leaks out of you, and just
Mhm.
you have to absolutely love what you do in life, and you just have to go at it with every single thing that you have, because you know I depending on your religious views, I think you only have one life, and I think with what you do with that life should try and be as meaningful as you can possibly make it. And so that's why I'm a very big proponent of just going out there and just doing what you love, and just don't make any compromises with that.
Mhm. It transcends genre. That's
Mm.
why I asked you about that, because you seem to have a theme, and it's passion. What would you what would you tell us a little bit about, because you mentioned religion? Would you tell us a little bit about your um, history with it? Because I know you've had some time in Utah,
Mhm.
um, and that is a big, Latter-day Saints hub. Tell us about your influence and how religion has kind of influenced you, as a kid, and how you see it now and how it's affecting you now.
Um, well, I don't, the, I'm not I'm not religious. I grew
Yeah.
up in a religious family in a very religious area. Actually, one of the leaders of the church lives across from my childhood house. Um, but religion was just not for me growing up. And
Mhm.
I think religion is very important for people. I think religion can do a lot of good for some people. Unfortunately for me, it was kind of the exact opposite. Um, I personally just didn't necessarily believe everything they were teaching. And when I asked questions, I got pushed back and got kind of shut down with certain things. And it created a sense of non belonging, because my beliefs were different from their beliefs, but I was still forced to be a part of the organization because they were very ever present in the community,
Mhm.
which is not good for anybody. It's not good to feel like an outcast in any situation. Uh, and the problem ends up being is just that when you're in an area that is like the status quo and the norm, it's hard to usually find other individuals that are they I don't want to say that they're still good people. It's not they're not deviating from like the moral senses of the religion, more like the belief system. Because I'm still a very big proponent in like the pay it forward, try and do good things, and um, but at the same time, it's yeah, it's not for me. It's not for a lot of the people around me, and I think when you're stuck in those situations as a kid, it can kind of trigger a couple of things that'll last a long time in your life.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you think that it comes through in your lyrics?
Um, to be honest, I don't really know, because I don't typically think about religion that much anymore.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think about people more, and I've like I said, it's like I don't really think about the what comes after. I think about the while you're here, what are you gonna do with that time,
Mhm.
and what are the experiences that you're gonna face in the now, rather than what's gonna happen. Who knows when? You never know when death is gonna
Mhm.
come.
Mhm. That's a very good, that's the answer to my question, is that no, it's not really part of your lyrics, because you have a different belief system. I want to The reason why I ask is because a lot of times if we've lived in those situations, like you said, you don't it becomes difficult and looked down upon to ask questions, and to kind of explore your identity and explore who you are. And like you said, that can lead to some mental health issues, as it has, for me in my story. And that comes out in my lyrics all of the time, and it is a way that I process, what has where I've come and where I am going. And I love that you do have an emphasis on what I'm doing today and where I'm going. And it all really kind of circles around your theme of, what can I do today? Try to do one good thing a day for someone else. Living in your passion. You said on our preliminary call, if you could be anything in the world, be passionate. And I love it. I need to like staple that on my forehead. Can you tell us about the most, can you tell us about the most significant struggle you're facing when it comes to the relationship between your own mental health and working in music today?
Oh, um,
Sorry, it is a big question.
well, yeah, it's. I think a lot of things that a lot of musicians have to struggle with is this constant duality of creating stuff that's really cool, and then the self-doubt that comes with it.
Hmm.
Um, because there's just a certain measure of like anxiety and depression that um, art just kind of brings upon an artist, because you're creating something that's value is determined by other people, and that's extremely hard on people, because you have to you have to constantly wonder, is this going to mean anything to anybody? Which is it's a struggle to think like that, and I try not to think like that myself. But it always ends up kind of like coming back into, when you create something that it's like you think this is really cool, and then you always, like, when you're putting out, it's a very vulnerable thing where you're just like, I spent 6 months working on this, please don't
Hmm.
hate it.
Hmm. Yeah, and
And
maybe longer thinking about it, and all of the little tiny thoughts that kind of wear you down
yeah,
about
well,
it.
and
Yeah.
the terrible truth is that nobody is gonna like, not everybody is gonna like your art. People hate Beyonce, and Beyonce, that's just how it goes. Some people like to listen to Post Malone. Some people like Taylor Swift. You can't tell them that they're wrong. It's just people that resonate with different types of music. Some people love metal. There's nothing wrong with loving metal. Some people like rap. There's nothing wrong with loving rap. Um, just understanding as an artist that you can't please everybody, but when you resonate with the right person, that's what matters. And so that's what I try and focus on with everything, is understanding that you're always going to have people that are displeased with you, but the one person that messages you out of however many like dumb crap that you may get, that one person that you made a genuine impact on, that's what matters, because that person is going to be able to hold on to it, and those other people are just going to forget about you. It doesn't matter. But
Mhm.
making those like genuine meaningful connections to people, even if it's just 1% of people. There's 7.5 billion people in the world. That's
Yeah,
75
1% of that is like something ridiculous. It's a
75
ridiculous amount of
million.
people.
Yeah, it's like if you
Yeah.
have 75 million people that like your stuff, you're
Yeah.
set. Just got to figure out like how to reach with them. And that's why it's just like, as I'm focusing on music, I try not to think of like, will people like this, and just trying to um make things that can have genuine
Hmm.
connections with people. Like when you feel something, like what are you feeling in the moment when you're listening to the music? And that's what really I try and dump into all of this. And that kind of helps me start like struggle with like the self-doubt and everything, because it's like at the end of the day, it's just like, if I find a meaning in it, then that should be enough.
I It's so important to what I'm getting from this is that it's really important to really just be, be so passionate about your message and your work, that it bleeds through. It can't help, like heart bleeds fire, like, and it's you can't help but it can't help but come out as the message, and people can't help but latch onto it, because it ends up being universal in some way to even just one person. And we can get so locked up in, I think, like Spotify stats, and like, for this single, how many times, what times did I get placed, and it doesn't really matter, because like I sometimes do like a little bit of exploring, because I'm kind of getting into this world of um actually promoting my music and trying to, like, what is that even about. And I've been looking for things, and like I see like people that I've never even heard of, that have like, you know 10 listeners a month, and they're amazing. And then like people I've also never heard of, like, that are big in the area that I've never heard of, that have like 3 million listeners a month, and I can't stand their music, or their music just doesn't speak to me. And it doesn't. I feel like more people need to remember that the numbers are so much less important than the people you're actually,
Yeah,
reaching.
especially streaming. Streaming is. I wish they didn't show numbers at all with that, because
Yeah.
a lot of that can be fake nowadays. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what really matters with any musician is that they are genuinely connecting to people. And so that person on Spotify may only have 10 monthly listeners, but whenever he plays live, every single person there is like, wow, like the next time this person comes back into town, I'm definitely going to see him again, because I, I I felt something at this concert. I remember it in a way that is just like one of the better memories of my life, and I want to continue to see them every single time they come through. But people may just not listen to their music on Spotify. They may have bought a CD. They may have it on
Yeah.
iTunes. And if you can, yeah, if people like your music enough to buy it nowadays, like, you're doing something right.
Exactly. A stream is a stream is a stream, and they are important, because people always look at your numbers if they want, like, if you're applying for an opportunity or anything. But exactly, like, if someone wants to like have like a physical copy, or it's actually downloaded, into their phone, like, who even uses iTunes anymore? But it still speaks to, like, if you it's more about like who's on your email list, and like who actually wants to stay in contact with you, because Spotify and streaming is just like, it's so casual. It's not it's there's no real commitment there, you know
Yeah,
um
and a lot of times those numbers, they don't necessarily mean that you're making genuine relationships with
yeah.
people, because most
Yeah.
of the time when people have huge numbers like that, it's because their song was on a really big playlist. But a lot of
Yeah.
times people will just, like, they'll listen to the songs on the playlist, and then the song will play, and they're like, "Oh, this is a good song. Next song. Oh, different artist," and they don't ever like engage with you as a person. And so it's important to make connections out of that, because I think as a musician, it's like one of the things that we can really do is we can change people's lives. I mean, it happened to me. I know it can happen to other people too. And so doing, like, I don't want to say like what you're doing outside of your music, but it's like the messages that you're putting in your songs, what you're doing outside and everything, that can then draw people directly to where you're playing stuff. And those streams matter much more than when they're just getting, placed through these big, like, I want to say, like, one time playthrough playlist that people will never listen
Hmm.
to stuff again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, art is incredibly important. Um, and I think it's way more important than most people will give it credit for, because I don't think there's a single day that people aren't exposed to media in some fashion. Well, whether it's television, song, like a painting, it's everywhere and it's ever present. And it's like people discount that, but imagine a world where that didn't exist. Just,
Hmm. Hmm. This is a perfect segue into your perspective about the entertainment and music and creative industries right now. What do you think is the biggest pain point for all of us trying to um, work, you know, when it comes to our mental health, and how do you think music is able to shine a light on that?
Um, so per, my belief in the music industry nowadays is, I guess a lot of people don't necessarily agree with me, but I 100% believe that this is the absolute best time ever to be alive, to be able to produce art. Uh,
Yeah, I think so too.
I I say that because everybody still now is trying to get a record label, and they're saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this to get signed or XYZ." I don't
Hmm.
think you need to anymore. I think that you can be an independent and really make a huge impact. Um, it, it it comes into it, and it's like I said with like that personal accountability thing earlier. It's it's all on you, and I think that's a mindset that a lot of musicians kind of need to understand and accept, and really embrace, is that you if you have a message and you have good music, then you can go somewhere. And if you have a really good message and really good music, you can go to the absolute top. There's absolutely nothing stopping you except for you. um you just have to you, you have to think of the business side like the creative side. Luckily, if you're an artist, you're already creative, and so you just got to figure out ways to do things that the
Hmm.
labels can't do, because they're these giant machines that are like relatively slow in changing.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas us as creatives, we can figure out, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna try this wacky thing. And people might, and if you were a part of these big machines, might shoot you down every single time and be like, no, that's too wacky. And then the best part about being on your own, I don't want to say on your own, because you can develop a team, but being able to really take charge and control, is that if you believe in something, that you can go after it. There's nobody that's going to be saying no to you. So
Mhm. You're like a lean startup, you know?
yeah, well,
Yeah,
exactly. It's
yeah.
it's it's really kind of what it is. It's like you're in business with yourself, and you need to take that side seriously too. The music always needs to come first. The music has to be the best part of everything. But when you feel like you have music that's just like, you know what? No, I feel like this is there. Then you can take that same creative energy and say, you know what? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna try all these different. I'm gonna come up with strategies on my own. I'm gonna
Hmm.
figure out like how I'm gonna get people to connect with me, whether it's video form, whether it's yourself painting yourself blue and running across a soccer field. um hey, if you did that, I do not encourage this, but if you painted your website on yourself and ran across this during the Super Bowl, that would get people attention for your
Oh
website.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Why do you think why do you think this is an issue? Why do you think that because it is. I totally agree that why do you think we're so unwilling? I don't want to say unwilling. I feel like that's the word that I'm going to use though. To accept that it is all on us, you know? Because I just had this crazy realization that like in the past couple days that I have everything I need right now. You know, it doesn't it I don't I don't need, $1 million because I have everything I need right now to succeed in what I'm doing in this exact moment to get me to the next level like that. It's just step by step, and I'm kind of mind blown by that, but I'm also wondering because I totally agree with you. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think we're so unwilling to accept that it is all in our hands?
Y- I think it is for most artists. They believe that when they create art and they create really good art, that's the only thing that matters, and it just should stop there. And uh,
Hmm.
I wish that in a perfect world, that's the way it would be. That if you created, let's say, a song or a painting that was just unbelievably good, you could just hang that up,
Hmm.
and then people would see this. Wow, I love this. Like let me buy this from you. Or as far as music goes, it's like, wow, this is great. Let me share this with every single one of my friends and make every one of my friends hear it. And then all of their friends saying, wow, this is great. I'm going to show this to all my friends. Fortunately, it just really doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah.
Social media now has gotten worse and worse as far as just organic sharing. It's very hard for things to go viral by themselves because they want you to pay for ads, and ads are good. They help, but you you need to be able to do more than just like post something and then
Hmm.
ask people to share it. Um, people the, the good thing and the bad thing about today's day and age is that um, everything is very accessible by anybody, like literally anybody in the world, whether you're in Russia, whether you're in Portland, or if you're in Indonesia. You can look up like Jon Omen and I will pop up and
Hmm.
people will be able to play it there. That's not something you could do 50 years ago.
Oh
um,
no, yeah,
but,
no. You'd have to have the label. You'd have to have the radio station.
Mhm.
Every all that.
And the bad thing about that is that now like 80,000 songs are getting uploaded to Spotify every single day.
Yeah.
And so you have to figure out a way to stand out like through all of that noise and giving people something that they can like genuinely like connect with and be like, wow, yes, I'm going to listen to this artist over this other one because I feel like I connect with a specific message like very very like more so than I whoever else is the other band.
Hmm.
um and it's that mentality is also what will end up, I think, getting you signed nowadays, because if you manage to create um like a very like self-sufficient business where you're already going and you're like, you know what, I'm producing really good art. I'm also finding ways for people to connect with it and enough that they are willing to support me. And at that point, that's when a bigger business like a record label is going to look at you and be like, wow, um, this is obviously working. Let's see what will happen if we invest a little bit more into it. Whereas like you can have the best song in the world, but if you post it online, even if they hear it, they're going to look and see like, wow, are people engaging with this? We don't know how to feel about this because it hasn't really been tested and tried, if you will. But it just comes down to, at the end of the day, it's just do your best to try and relate with people, connect with people, so like spread this, create a message worth spreading.
Hmm. I think and you have, because this is perfect for the next question that I want to ask is about your song North Star. You made a connection with your friend who had the in Oregon. You were telling me about
Yeah.
a North
um
Star
yeah,
clubhouse.
his name is Amir.
Hmm.
He isn't related to me by blood, but he's pretty much family to me. He's just always been there for me. Just a really cool dude. But as I was finishing up this song North Star, and considering the song is about overcoming depression, I felt like it was kind of fitting to be like, you know what, I'm gonna donate like half the proceeds that I make the first month to some sort of mental health charity. And I was trying to figure out which one to donate to, and then all of a sudden I see on Facebook he's like, hey, I recently accepted a volunteer position as on the board of these North Star clubhouses that specialize in mental health. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting coincidence that I just had this song and all of a sudden he posts that they're looking for sponsors with that.
And
uh,
it's called North
yeah,
Star.
yeah. So it's like, okay, well, I guess that's what I'm gonna go with. But he's great. He's also, like I said, he's helped me through a lot of those really tough times, because I really believe that when you're going and you're struggling through a lot of these things, um, there's a lot of different ways to really help yourself get out of them. It's not one size fits all. Everybody's brain works a little bit differently, so what works for one person might not work for another. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's very important to end up like trying to get better.
I love I just that's great. I'm kind of a believer. Like I don't have a religion in the traditional sense, but I'm really starting to believe in like the universe and things like that. And when you were talking about your manifestation, and it's just so funny how it was your song's called North Star, and it just you were looking for an opportunity, you know, to make an impact and to donate, and then all of a sudden just like I think that's absolutely brilliant and crazy, and I don't know, I just starting to become a believer in that kind of thing. And I do want to talk a little bit more about in terms of vision and legacy. I want to know what your vision is for the future, and what further impact are you seeking to make through music?
Um, my oh, that's starting to tear up. My biggest goal for a long time was I wanted to try and save someone's life through music. And actually, that I had a couple people reach out to me after this song, and um, I don't want to say names, but I talked to them through a lot of stuff, and they were on kind of the similar place that I used to be, and you know, I was able to kind of check that box off, which was it is a very big deal for me because, like I said, after all of this, I've kind of viewed my life as like a second chance, and um, hopefully prevent people from making the same mistake that I made. And being able to do that was just it was a huge moment for me. Um, the next thing that I want to do is well, I finished this album now. I'm just finishing up the mix and master, but I want to, of course, create more songs. But I want to continue to try and like explore those, like the themes of the human condition. Is um, I don't want to put in this, but I follow that hashtag in this end the stigma, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
very big proponent for me. Is accepting that um, mental health issues are way more common than anybody gives them credit for, and that's a really big thing that I'm trying to go after right now. I think that more people are struggling with it than they let give off, and I feel like there's this weird inability for people to express that stuff in society. And what's even worse is the fact that when people are looking for help, they're unavailable to get it sometimes. And that's honestly been one of the most common things that I've heard and seen is when people reach out to me. You know, of course, I push them to try and get some type of counseling or therapy, and almost every single time they would say they love to, but the resources are unavailable to them. You know, it's either too expensive, there's not very many in their area, um, and that's just like one of the most heartbreaking things to me. It's like, you know, why when people are trying to get better, which is a good thing for everybody, do we not have more support systems in place instead of people having to pay $200 an hour um, to try and, you know, make it so they can like function regularly, when
Yeah.
sometimes yeah, it's happened to me. Yeah, it happened
Yeah.
to me, and it happens to everybody. Is like some days you just have a day that you can't even, you know, get out of bed, and everybody's different. Some people's issues are different. If you have an anxiety, it's like you know, you can have a panic attack, but absolutely nothing sometimes that
Hmm.
just makes it so it's just like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing for the rest of the day.
You're
Uh,
paralyzed. Yeah.
yeah, and then getting people the ability to, hey, get you know, get help that is right for them, is something that I really think that you know, I want to go after. I'm not sure how I'm going to end up accomplishing that, but if I could change the world somehow, that's be one of the biggest ones that I would do.
That's what I want. That's the answer. You're going, something is going to happen because you're passionate about it, and it's what you're focusing on, you know. And I, in some way, it's going to manifest because this is what you want to do. Absolutely. It's so the resources are there, but they're either so expensive or they're not a like they're there and they're accessible, but like, or they're just not what you want. Like it's hard to find a therapist that actually even works for you, I've gone through several where it's like I'm not, getting the support that I need, but they are on my insurance, or else, yeah, I have to pay like $200, an hour for just to get out my thoughts and just like untangle the yarn in my head, which I don't think is necessary, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, therapy can do a lot of good things. It can help you sort through those distorted thoughts and help you figure out like
Oh yeah, yeah,
what's
yeah.
not. But unfortunately, it's just there's not a, like I said, there's not a one size fits all for everybody. It's like one therapist may be absolutely great for somebody and not for somebody else. And when you find the right fit, the last thing you want to hear is that you can't afford it.
Hmm.
Just the unfortunate truth.
And then you have to go to a psychiatrist if you're going to be taking medication, and it costs money to get to see the psychiatrist, and then the medications cost money, if you find something that actually works for you. So yeah, it's big bucks just to function sometimes. And I'm so glad that that's part of your vision, is to you know somehow bring about more affordable resources and more accessible resources. I don't want to take any much more of your time. I have one more question for you, and that is, how have you created beautiful things already in 2020, and what are your plans to continue to create beautiful things this
Oh,
year?
um, ugh, I touched on this a little. Like, well, and in my opinion, the album I've created is really beautiful. It it took me about 2 years to finish. I combed through probably about 200 songs that I wrote and picked 10 that I liked the most. Um, which is, it was kind of crazy to say that I've written that many songs, but at the end of the day, you know, I feel proud of what I did. Every song is kind of its own nugget in its own way. They all talk about different things. Some of them talk about love. Some of them talk about like North Star, about depression and overcoming that. And some of them, talk about what we were talking about earlier, about just being so passionate that um, it just leaks out of you, and just going after something that just seems, it seems impossible, but not to you.
Mm-hmm.
um and that, you know now I'm at the stage where it's like, okay, well, I'm about ready to start sharing with this people, and I just want to, try and spread that to as many people as possible. They're like, hey, I made a thing, please,
Check it
look.
out.
um uh as far as as far as the future goes, I've already started on the next album. I have a couple of songs that are um nearing completion. I don't know if I'm going to do the same thing on this one and comb through 200 songs to find the ones that fit the most. Maybe I'll use a few of those others, like those older songs as well, because a lot of them were good songs. They're just not necessarily what I wanted to put on this one.
Hmm.
Um, and so really, it's just like trying to create more art that means something.
Create art that means something. Perfect. Thank you. That's all. I love it. That's my um it's I just love how concise you are. So I want to thank you for really being so well spoken and sharing, your passion, and sharing your heart and your entire journey, because um just listening to where we came from the beginning, and to where you've come from, and then to your vision for the future, it's very inspiring, and it's just beat by beat by beat, there's something that we can take away from every question that you answered, every single thing you said. So I want to thank you so much for being here with me today on Mind Made Wrong. um, your name is Jon Omen, and please remind us where we can find you online.
The best way is just go to jonomen.com. Once again, it's JONOMEN.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can also find me on any social media. Just look up same thing, JON space OMEN, and like I said, I'm the guy with the lightsabers.
The lightsabers, you can't miss it. Why the lightsabers? Can
Um,
one last question.
so when I was in the military, I taught martial arts, and
Mhm.
I just decided, after I got out that I was going to continue to do it. I always liked sword fighting, and so I got into like sword fighting martial arts called HEMA. And when I practiced with those, I was like, oh, that's kind of boring to use like the training swords. And so I ended up just getting like a sparring lightsaber that you could like fight with, which is like honestly one of the best and worst ideas I've had, because those things, they actually hurt a lot when you get hit by them. Like you have to wear gloves or you'll break your finger. I'm even kidding. But I was just like, okay, I was like, you know what, these kind of look cool.
I love it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna take a couple of pictures with them, and I did that, and then all of a sudden, like it just it ended up working, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna stick with this because I like the aesthetics.
It's a great aesthetic. You have a very cohesive aesthetic, and guys, if you first of all, obviously check out his music, but like if nothing else, just go on his Instagram, because it's just great. It's perfect. It's very cohesive.
I'll show you something that's kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I got this made for me. But yeah, it's a lightsaber.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't believe that. That's amazing. Oh my god, you perform at that like every single time, right?
Yeah, of course.
Every time. That is oh my god, oh my god, that made my day. That's the best thing I've ever seen, ever. That's amazing.
All right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you
Yes.
for having me. I really love what you're doing, and I think it really matters. So
You've been awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, guys, we are going to sign off now. I just want to let you know that if you have received value from this podcast, especially from this particular episode of Mind Made Wrong, please give Jon a follow. Follow him on Spotify, wherever you stream. Save. When does Hearts Bleed Fire come out?
that's a loaded question. I'm debating on either continuing to release a couple of singles leading into it, or I may release it sometime in the next few months.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on a few elements. So at the end of the summer at the very latest. So probably
Okay.
like August, September.
Well, we'll follow you, and we'll stay up to date. If you have not already, please follow and subscribe to Mind Made Wrong wherever you listen. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Please subscribe to Steal Maggie. And if you are behooved, please share this podcast with another beautiful creator you know. I will see you next week. But until then, let's go create beautiful things. Bye-bye.
Thank you.